What's
it's
going
been
on?
it's been a little bit. We've been Christmas, New Year's,
Sick.
uh, sick. You
a
know, it's been a while since we've been on
little
the.
bit of everything.
We let the college football playoffs get all the way to the Final Four. We came to you last time the week one games, and we broke those down. So we've been absent for a little bit, but we've been still watching the games. Everything's kind of been going according to plan, I would say. After we talked about those first round games, I think everybody we thought was going to win won. You know, Penn State beat SMU in that first game. Indiana, you know, they made a little late run, but Notre Dame pretty much handled them pretty easily. Who was the other game? The
Tennessee,
Texas.
Ohio State.
Yeah, well, I was going to do that one last.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Texas and Clemson. Clemson, you know, hung around early. You know, hit them early, but Texas kind of took control of that one. And
I
you
think
know,
I think Clemson had some opportunities, man. They
yeah,
just
Clemson definitely.
couldn't.
They shot out early on that first drive.
Right.
Texas answered back. You know, the play that we talked about that was pivotal was that interception
Yeah.
where
The block.
the blindside block and took that
Mm-hmm.
touchdown off the board. That was big.
I mean, you just
But
gotta in today's football, you just gotta know you can't do that anymore. You know, that penalty's been in place for what, the last 3-4 years now?
yeah, you can't, like, the crackback block is kind of out of the game now. You
Yeah.
know, that was back in the
And
day. We used to go ahead.
and no, you go ahead.
No, I was just saying that was, you know, we used to love it like on punt
Oh
returns and
yeah, for
kickoffs and
sure.
interceptions, the peel back, you know, who's not looking, let's
Mm-hmm.
go ear hole somebody. Like I just yeah, it's cool and all, but it's, you know, player safety. To get
And
blindside
then
blocks
you
are pretty rough.
and then you wasted probably the best game Cade Klubnik's had in big games since he's been at Clemson. I mean, he had
Yeah,
300 yards, 3 TDs, one interception, but it was tipped.
yeah.
But
Like I say, we'll get into Texas because I know you haven't been a huge proponent of the Longhorns. The final game was Ohio State finally put together what we've been talking about they should be doing all season and beat the
mm-hmm.
dog out of Tennessee. And then that completely translated over to this past weekend, which we'll hop into because we'll break down more of the second round games that just took place this past weekend as we got to the Final Four. So that was like the first round, which we kind of all went according to plan. No big, huge upsets. You know, like Penn State didn't get beat by SMU. You know, Happy Valley and the whiteout, all that, blah blah blah. The next week's games, we hopped into those. The Friday night game, which was the Ashton Genty, you know, Heisman runner-up game. Penn State, you know, jumped out on them early and then kind of just, you know, held them down. Boise just they tried to run the ball with Genty. They bottled him up pretty well.
Yeah,
Um, you know,
he took
just
some shots.
yeah, Penn State's defense was thumping, and you
Yeah.
know, we talked about it the other night. You know, even talking with Joe, you know, like where's the creativity? And everybody's knows Genty's your guy. Give me some play action. Give me some different look. You know, throw the ball downfield. You know, try to catch him.
Because
And they caught him on. Caught
there's
him
no
on the
way
one
you
tight end under route where the guy got loose, wide open. But that's about
yeah,
it. That was one of the touchdowns.
there was no way you went in that game thinking that we're just going to run the ball with Aston Genty like we did all season and it's going to work. Like I just don't understand that game plan. Like you said, they should have threw some play action in there, and you have to tell your wide receivers, like, look, guys, this is the game of your career right here. Like someone has to step up and make plays. They made a couple plays, but I think we both knew that Penn State defense is legit and good enough to slow them down. And then, on the offensive side, Penn State showed some offensive prowess on that side. I mean, they were probably going against a lackluster defense than what they're used to going against.
That was my biggest thing is Boise's been obviously strong, but they just had
Mm-hmm.
they played Oregon, you know, way early in the year, which a banger of a game.
Which
But then
Oregon probably had no idea who Ashton Genty was.
exactly, and you know, so then you look at who Boise's played the last like we'll go 6 weeks back. So that's when your team's really setting up here for
Yeah.
this run. They just haven't really played anybody,
No.
you know, that's even close to any of these teams really in the playoffs.
Mm-mm.
So you just felt like they were outmatched. And this is what's going to happen with these G5 teams that basically just get an auto bid, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
plus it obviously showed that, you know, Arizona State, even though they played really well, they should have been playing week one. Boise should have been playing week one. You know, everybody's like, oh, look at all these upsets with the teams that are in the Final Four. Like these teams, we know Ohio State Penn State, even Texas, like these have been the best teams
all
in the
year.
country. They just basically had to play in that first weekend, and
Yeah.
Because they lost their either the Big Ten game or didn't get in the Big Ten like Ohio State.
Mhm.
But again, like I just feel like the question I have with Penn State is, can Aller be the guy to make some big throws? Because we know they got good running game. We know you don't have any confidence in Drew Aller, even though now everybody's talking about if he comes out, he would be the first quarterback off the board now.
Over who?
Over everybody. That's the rumor. Like if he goes on a run here, he could be over Cam and Shedeur.
Would you take Drew Aller over Shedeur or Cam?
I would take him over. I'm not Shedeur guy. I never. We could talk draft later. I would take Cam probably over Drew Aller.
I'll take Carson over Drew.
I think Shedeur is going to be a flat out bust, but we could talk about that another time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think he's shown that he has the capability of it. What we talked about always too is, can they have something behind, Tyler Warren, because he's their go-to guy.
Here's the problem. And every quarterback can show that they have that moment. They can make passes and stuff like that. Can you do it consistently? Can you do it when the moment when it matters?
But I will say Drew Aller, for the most part, for the whole season, has been pretty consistent. He's got, great high percentage completion throws. He doesn't throw interceptions. He's made the throws he needs to make. They've lost 2 ball games. They lost the,
so did Graham Mertz last year. If we're talking about completion percentage,
but I'm not talking about
crap.
He's got yards too. He's got stats, not just like Graham Mertz didn't have yards downfield. He had
who are we talking
75%.
Did he do that against Ohio State?
No, he didn't have a great day against Ohio State either, but he had a good game against Oregon. Those were their 2 losses. But I mean, really, a lot of teams are struggling against that Ohio State defense. But again, bottom line, the way Ohio State's playing right now, I don't see any of these 4-3.
Well, teams. The reason why I brought up Ohio State is because I need to see the sample size. I need to see a bigger sample size of Drew Aller because their schedule wasn't the greatest, and of course you expect them to put up numbers against inferior teams, but go ahead. My bad. Well,
no, I'm just saying
another conversation.
Yeah, like I say, he threw for 146, 12 of 20 for 150, basically, in a pick against Ohio State the first go round. Like I said, that game was just, again, that was where Ohio State. I just don't know what Ohio State. I just don't know what Ohio State was doing in some of these games early in the year.
Yeah, I'll give him a little leeway and say that other than Tyler Warren and the running backs, he has really no one to throw the ball to. He doesn't have like an elite receiver.
At least 2 of those guys are kind of emerging to where they kind of look good. 5 and 6 or 3 and 6. I got to look up their names, but I think one of them's Evans. But let's see, Drew Aller for the year, he's completing 67%, so he's right under 70. He's thrown for 3,000 yards, 24 touchdowns, 7 picks. Like I say, not mind blowing numbers.
No,
you got the 2,000-yard backs. The receivers that are stepping up, obviously, is Harrison Wallace and Omar Evans. That's what I'm talking about. That's the guy I was looking.
Mm-hmm.
But again, we'll get into the breakdown of the Notre Dame game. Like I say, they were way too much for. Like I say, when we talked about the breakdown of when the bracket came out, I was like, Penn State, man, they're in the Final Four. It was like they're going to get SMU at home, and they're going to get Boise. Boom, boom. They're going to be in there. So now it's like, who are they going to match up against? It was either looking like a Notre Dame or a Georgia. They get Notre Dame. The other side of the bracket that I said who got the easiest draw was Texas. They basically got, the Clemson game at home, and then they were going to play Arizona State. Now, Arizona State gave them big fits, but now obviously you knew that the next game was going to either be Oregon or Ohio State. So the Final Four bound where I figured Texas, if it was a lock, I'd have been like Texas and Penn State are going to be in the Final Four. Now, what are they going to do after that is the next question.
Yeah.
But Penn State was just too much, so if we're going to go in order, the next game would have been the early game on New Year's Day. Your boys, the Arizona State Sun Devils, were sleepwalking through about 3.5 quarters of the game, and then finally surged out of nowhere to,
well, I think
make it a hell of a game.
The sleepwalking part is it goes back to what you were saying kind of about Boise. Like Arizona State thought that they were just going to line up and throw the ball. I mean, run the ball against Texas, that Texas front. And we're all, like, what are you doing? Like, you got to at least mix it up, get some passes in there. I get that you're missing several of your receiving targets, but you still got to change it up. And then I don't know if Texas wore down or what. I mean, and then the biggest thing for that game for me was I texted you and Joe obviously at the beginning of the game. We're like, well, maybe I should apologize to the Texas offense, and maybe I sent that text message a little too early because they went into a lull. Because that game should have been a blowout. That game really should have been a blowout.
It should have, for sure. And like, it wasn't even part of it was the Texas offense because they went right down the field in like 3 plays to start the game.
And then you get a punt return.
I was about to say special teams, so that doesn't even count as the offense. So it was 14-0 off rip.
Mm-hmm.
And 17-3 at the half. You're thinking, okay,
this is over.
Yeah, and then like that third quarter, they went scoreless, but then the defense held. They had the safety because they stopped them. They stopped Arizona State on the 4th down goal, the basically 4 run plays. Again, which if there's one thing that Texas can do is you can't run on them on the goal line. So like, be a little creative and not just line up and say, let's run it right at them. So
yeah, exactly.
They luckily they get the safety because of the exchange with the running back, with Ewers, and then they held them to the field goal on the drive. They really needed to get points. Well, at that point, we were watching it, and I'm like, okay, 17-8. I remember telling Ricky, I was like, this is typical Texas. They'll go right down here and score and make it a 2-score game here and put this game out of reach. That's exactly what they did. But then they come back and get a stop, and what happens? Ewers throws an interception. The guy makes a hell of a play for Arizona State. That was a hell of a pick.
Yeah.
And then you get the little trick play, touchdown, 2-point conversion. Now all of a sudden it's a 1-score game.
Yeah.
You get another stop, and then all the momentum was going to Arizona State.
Well, I think what helped too was I can't remember the kid's name, the safety that was out for the first half that came back for the second half. He made some huge plays because I think he was the one that got the pick, and he had a huge stop on a play. I think it was Simmons. I can't remember his name.
12.
But yeah, he made a difference to start the second half to at least, get a couple stops. And then, that's been my thing about Texas this whole year is
Javen Robinson, number 12, Robinson.
Yeah, the whole year with the Texas offense is like they go into this period, kind of like how the Miami offense would do during the season. They would go through this period of 2-3 drives where you're just like, all right, guys, you got to pick it up and get first downs or score or whatever.
Honestly, what I think it is now it's reverting back to their inability to be able to just run the ball.
Yeah.
I think
having CJ Baxter is huge.
That's big. I love Wisner. He's a good player, but he's not. I mean, 18 carries for 45 yards.
Yeah.
He's more of a get loose kind of guy.
Yeah. Him and Jaden Blue are more receiving backs, scat backs, get them on the edge.
So if you got to throw it every damn time, you're going to get some incomplete balls. Yep. You're going to get some. So it's just like your room for error on that is like more. So it's like if you're up, 24-8, you'd love to be able to be like, you know what, let's run the ball a little bit here, pick up some first downs instead. You got to throw it. You throw a damn pick.
Then you depend on your sorry kicker.
Oof, Auburn's
terrible.
Yikes, buddy.
What was the first thing I said when I walked in the house? Well, this guy's terrible, and then he misses the kick.
Yeah, he's been it was rough. That was a rough 2 kicks for him, basically to win it to win it before it even got overtime.
Yeah, but he's been like that his whole career, but they hype him up. I was like, maybe it's the hair. Maybe it's the hair is why they keep hyping him up.
What's wild is everybody says that was a targeting call that didn't get called. Here's the other one. I just saw this maybe yesterday. On the golden touchdown, did you see they didn't really review it, but it almost looked like he trapped the ball.
I saw
it. Might not have been a catch, but again, it didn't get reviewed.
It's too late.
Like I said, Arizona State.
Did you see Arizona State petition the field goal that bounced over? It hit the in the end zone and bounced over the field goal, the crossbar.
No,
I didn't realize that till Cooey was telling me about it. I guess they petitioned and.
So is that
they said someone showed in the rule book that it should have been good, but then there's a contradiction in the rule book.
So you can get a bounce, like
a
bank shot in a sense.
I mean, but at the end of the day, like we all agreed the play calling in the first half for Arizona State was just like, are you guys just trying not to get blown out? And I guess when they finally got Scottaboo going, it, he definitely deserved the MVP, which they got. But I just felt like, come on, guys, y'all got to do better than this. I mean, all props to Sam Levitt. He played his ass off, man. He really did, because he kept a lot of plays open, going, because he should have been blown up like multiple times, and somehow he slipped through those blitzes and make enough play to get downfield, just to extend it. But yeah, you got to give Texas credit. They found a way to win. I think that defense is, a top 5 defense. It's just going forward. What will the offense do? If they want to win a national championship, that offense has to be clicking from
here's what's crazy is
to end.
They're capable doing that.
We know they're capable, but
I guess the big thing too is like I know it's health wise, but Isaiah Bond's been kind of disappointing in my eyes. Obviously, Matthew Golden's been great.
Yeah.
I like Wingo, the freshman receiver. DeAndre Moore's been really good, but like I say,
they have weapons.
Exactly. Helm is a really good tight end. I think what happens is when they really want to run the ball, they just can't just be like, we're going to rely on this.
Yeah.
And so I think that's going to be their downfall, because I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball against Ohio
not
State.
Just that. Well, Quinn has to be efficient as well. He has to make plays, not take sacks, and just be efficient, because he's good for 1 or 2 picks a game.
I guess here's what's crazy: 20 of 30 for 322 and 3 touchdowns. That's a pretty good freaking day, and he threw the one bad ball. That's pretty good numbers, though.
No, those are good numbers, but you still got to get the offense moving and being efficient. I mean, 320 of those, the first drive we had 75 off of 2 plays passing.
I know. I'm just like, that's pretty good numbers.
No, I mean, we get caught up in the numbers sometimes, but are we going 3 and out? Are you extending drives? Are we moving the ball to get that clock going? Those are things you still have to do as a quarterback to win the football game. And you can't go 3-4 drives where you don't do anything.
No, I totally agree. They go into too many.
That's my problem.
They go to too many empty possessions for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean,
now I get you make a valid point about the running game, and the running game has to help. But at the same time, if you can't run the football, Sark does a good job with the screens and the short passes to get out.
They do that a lot.
Yeah, that's what they do. So you just got to be efficient. And like I said, you can't get off the field on 3rd downs, and you got to extend it. Now, granted, you put your kicker in situations to where he has to make those kicks. But I just think against a top-notch defense like Ohio, he's going to see, even if they win the Ohio State game, the other 2 teams on the other half have great defenses, just as good as theirs. So we'll see how it goes this week. I'm not trying to jump ahead, but I don't see them beating Ohio State, but
no, I don't possible. I don't either. Like I say, they're capable if they play.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, basically, I'm looking at the drive charts. After they got up 17-3, they had a drive that went 3 plays for 5 yards. I don't know what they called on those plays. I don't know if that was run play. Let's see. So you had a Jaden Blue run for a loss of 1, an incomplete pass, and then you had a scramble for 6 yards and punt. So it's like, you
can't have that.
You ran it, then you had an incomplete ball, and then basically got pressured.
Because I mean, what was Gunnar Helm's numbers? I don't think Gunnar Helm had a great game. I think they didn't utilize him a lot.
I think he had 3 for like 50, maybe. Let's see.
Yeah, he had one. I think a nice, maybe 15 to 20 yard catch.
He had 3 for 56 with a 25-yard play with 1 touchdown.
Yeah, I think they got to get him more involved for Quinn.
Yeah, because it was literally just Golden was your big guy. He had 7 for 150. But then
they couldn't cover.
The next guy you had was Wisner, had 4 for 40 yards, and then basically the 2 guys who have been stepping up, Wingo and Moore, only had 2 catches apiece. Obviously, DeAndre Moore had a touchdown.
Silas Bolden had a couple big catches in the game.
No, he had 0 catches.
I thought he had 1 big catch for. No. Oh, I'm thinking of Golden, but Bolden had the big punt return.
Yes.
Yeah,
but
like
I say, kudos to Arizona State because I didn't think
Yep.
they had a shot. I said it.
I thought they
And
did, but
it looked like they shouldn't. And then Texas gave them a shot, and then Arizona State got a shot in the arm and really played well.
yeah,
And like I
yeah,
said, made
for
it a ball
sure.
game. It's basically probably been the best game of the playoffs. It wasn't so much. It was the best fourth quarter and the best game so far. But yeah, like I say, moving on to that.
I thought the Texas Clemson game was a
Yeah, it
decent
was
game.
pretty. It was
It
pretty
wasn't
good.
better than this one, but though Texas has been in the best game so far this playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Like I say, then the next game we had was the beatdown in the Rose Bowl. Man, it was the Jeremiah Smith show, the Ohio State offense clicking on all cylinders, defense playing ball, complete blowout in the first half, and it was already over like the minute they scored on the first drive, dude. And it was like, this is the Ohio State team that I expect all year
offensively, but I think as much as the offense played great, their defense the first 2 weeks have turned it up to another notch.
100%.
And they have been physical, head hunting. Like if you go back and watch some of those plays, those hits, their front four
they beat the shit out of Tennessee. It was just like
they were physical.
That game was 21-0 in the first quarter.
Think about that hit they were putting on Nico in round one.
Oh yeah,
and where they cracked his helmet, and it felt like the Tennessee guys had tapped out. And in this game, they were just physical with that Oregon offensive line. They beat up the backs, they beat up the receivers, and then like me and you've been screaming all year.
Oregon couldn't they couldn't run the ball at all, and then once they got behind, they had to abandon the run. And it was just like good night, Irene.
Hey,
I mean, it was
what did Forrest say earlier in the week? If you try to cover me one-on-one, it's gonna be a long day.
Yeah,
and
no, he was.
That's kind of what me and you've been saying this whole season is like, why aren't we taking deep shots? And the other part of the offense that's been clicking the last 2 weeks is Will Howard has been highly efficient.
Yeah,
I think round one, against Tennessee, he was like 21 to 27 or 22 for 28, something like that. And in this game, he's been just as efficient, getting the ball to the receivers quick,
17
downfield.
26 for 319.
That seed he threw to Mecca for that touchdown, what was it, the second touchdown?
Yeah,
down the middle, where he just dropped it in the basket. It was just, we were all just looking at each other.
Even like Trayvon Henderson looked fast as shit.
Judkins looked physical.
It was just like a clinic. I'm like, this team played this team to a 1-point loss. I mean, on the road, whatever, early in the year. But Oregon looked like they got completely exposed in this game.
It didn't look like the same Ohio State team from what we've seen all season.
Well, like I say, what's crazy is the fact that like you're literally going to tell me y'all's game plan, ego-wise, against Michigan was we're going to beat you at your own game, out physical you, just go beat the dog out of them by doing what you did, or like throw that shit all over the yard, man. Like you don't like they should have beat Michigan 41-21. Instead they lose, and like I say, it's mind-boggling to me some of the lapses they had in the season. That Nebraska game, was one of them. But and then I guess they just didn't look fairly impressive in all their wins. I mean, they did beat the crap out of Indiana. That was when Indiana first had to play their first big test. But I mean, this is what the $20 million gets you when you get a Caleb Downs and a Quinshon Judkins. You get Jeremiah Smith as a true freshman. Like, this is a fully loaded team,
right?
So like,
and then on the graphic they had put up where they were talking about their defense, like all those guys have been starters for like the last 3 years, other than Downs and one other guy.
Yeah, they got senior leadership guys with great experience, and those guys are good players.
Now the defense hadn't been the issue like the last outside of the first Oregon game. The defense been pretty rock solid all season. It's been the offense and the play calling.
They're a top 5 defensive unit.
It's been play calling, and they couldn't run the football. Some of the games, like the Michigan game, they couldn't run the football because, like you said, they weren't trying to get to the edges. They were trying to run out to the strength of the Michigan defense, which made no sense. And then they were long developing plays that made no sense for the receivers. And now Chip's just turned the keys over to Will Howard, and they just gone out there, and like the first touchdown, they kept it simple. They brought Jeremiah in motion, swung it to him, and just let the freak do the rest. And he got
Yeah.
down the field and scored a touchdown. It's like, I think in that offense with those receivers and those tight ends, just get the ball to him as quick as possible and let him make a play. You don't have
Yeah.
to run 15, 20-yard routes. Yeah, every now and then we could take shots, but just get the ball to them and let them make plays. And I think they finally realized that. Either they realized it or they've just been holding back these guys for a lot of
Yeah.
these
Well,
games and
like I
saying,
say,
let's just get in the playoff.
think about these chunk plays. Trayvon had a 66-yard run.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremiah Smith had a 45-yard touchdown. Emeka had a 42-yard. G. Scott had a 30. Like all those explosive plays, comboed with just everything else. It was just when you have that many explosives. I think the biggest thing too. The other takeaway is Oregon's defense kind of got exposed. Like the Lanning might have had them boys playing really good ball all year, and I think where it was with Oregon is they had been playing really good offense, and then the question was who had they really played in the Big Ten according to their schedule power. They did have a nice win in that Big Ten game because I think Penn State actually played pretty well, and that was a good barometer check of okay, these two teams can maybe make a run.
I think Chip Kelly and Ryan Day figured some things out with their offensive line too, because the offensive line in the last couple of weeks of the season didn't look up to Ohio State standards of their offensive line. Giving up some sacks and just not being able to create open holes for the running backs. And in this game, there was a couple of runs where Judkins and Henderson didn't even get touched until they were 5-6 yards down the field. Hell, did he even get touched on that 60-yard touchdown? I don't think he did.
On the sideline one?
Yeah, I don't think he got touched.
I don't think so. Here's the other wild thing too, and this goes back to the crappy, the way the playoff works. Penn State. We talked about this already. Penn State losing that game gets imagine if Oregon would have somehow lost that game. I'd probably say Oregon would probably run. Oregon would have beat SMU. They would have beat Boise, and I would probably pick Oregon to beat either Notre Dame or Penn State again.
Yeah.
And so they could be in the national championship game, probably against Ohio State. And if this would have been your national championship game, that'd have been bad too. But still, Penn State's still playing ball, and Oregon is not.
Clearly,
so the draw of
it's been a topic for the last 2 weeks. We're not breaking any news.
Yeah.
Clearly, they need to figure out how they want to do it. I think they should reseed. I think conference champions shouldn't guarantee you a bye week.
No, exactly. And those need to go away for sure.
If you figure out who your 12 are, and then re-rank them 1 through 12. Once you get your 12, re-rank them, and then go from there. And as Oregon, we probably just saw the national potentially going into that game. Everyone thought that could have been a national championship game.
Yeah.
Oregon versus Ohio State. That should have never been a second round game. As the number 1 seed, you should be rewarded every round. So whoever the lowest seed would have been going into the second round, that's who Oregon should have played. So those are my 3 things of what they should choose. I mean, what they should do. I like the 12-team format. Now I've been hearing people cry about the 12-team format and they hate it and this and that. It was just a bad seeding, I think, for the most part. I'm cool with Boise getting in as the group of 5. I'm fine with SMU and Indiana getting in. Those teams should all played each other maybe in the first round.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like I say, that again, the only team that I would have probably liked to see get in would have been Ole Miss. But they screwed up themselves. We don't have to.
You got to win.
That. You don't lose to the Gators week 10 or 11, whatever that was. And if you take care of business week 3 against Kentucky and you're 10-2, you're in there. Because I felt like Tennessee was not a good 10-2 team. They didn't have the great win. Like Ole Miss shit the bed when they needed to not.
Yeah.
Out of those 3 lost teams of the Alabama, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Ole Miss, if they got in this thing, they would have been maybe a problem for somebody.
But that's just the problem where I think we can't reinvent the wheel of how sports has always been played to where, okay, I think this team's good, so we should put them in. That's not how this works. Lane's doing all this crying and everything on Twitter, and it's just like, hey, man, if you handle business, you get in. Only because you look the best, you look the part, doesn't mean you should get the part. You know, maybe someone comes in and blows the director away and be like, he doesn't look what I want, but I think he can deliver. And that's just the part with Ole Miss is like you can't lose to Kentucky, you can't lose to Florida. Who was their third loss? Was it LSU?
Yep.
I think it was LSU. Like,
Yeah, they were up the entire game and lost in overtime.
yeah, like I get it. People could make the excuse and say, well, Florida was hot at the end of the season, so it wasn't the same Florida at the beginning of the season versus at the end of the season. You still can't lose that game when I get you're on the road. You got to find a way to win. If you think you're a top 12 team or elite team, you find ways to win and you find ways to get in the tournament. And I think that's what Lane really needs to reevaluate this offseason and just say, what do we need to do to get to the end, to the tape? Just like down in Coral Gables, Mario has to do the same thing. The last several years when Miami was, well, two of the last, 8, where they had opportunities to get into the playoffs, they faltered down the season. You got to figure out a way how to finish the season strong, because granted, you could lose a game 1 or 2 earlier in the season, but we want to see how you're going to finish the season. Like even South Carolina had those early losses and they got on a tear. Now they didn't show up for the bowl game. Hey, it is what it is. But I just feel like you got to do what you got to do to get in it, and I don't think Ole Miss did.
Yeah, no, for sure. I totally agree.
I know
crazy,
you would agree with me on this. Talent wise, they're up there with the Ohio States, the Oregons, the Texases.
What I've listening to the McElroys and some of the guys who've called games and go to those meetings before and talk to the coaches, it's easily they have a top 5 roster. As far as like guys who are going to go to the NFL, players in the positions where they got studs. I think Jackson Dart's a really underrated quarterback.
I think so too.
But like I say, here's what's funny. I just thought of it right now. Let's say they beat Florida and they were 10-2. They're in, but who's out now? If we were to go back, rewind time, if it all played out, because I'm just trying to figure out like who would have got bounced then if you had
probably
to swap.
SMU.
But see, then I think that's the precedent of you're basically punishing the team that played.
No, I agree.
So I don't know. So could it have been Indiana?
Yeah, it's possible. I would have took if Ole Miss was 10-2, I would have took Ole Miss over Indiana.
Right.
And I wouldn't have any problems with that.
Yeah. No, I don't remember where they were ranked going into that Florida game and then where they dropped to.
They were in the top 10. Ole Miss was
in
the top 10.
I know they were in the top 10. I just couldn't remember.
No, because remember if they wouldn't have lost the Florida game, they probably would have. No, Alabama. I thought they would have been in the SEC championship game.
Yeah, that's a good question too.
Yeah, because remember there was like 5-6 teams all at the 2-loss area where they were all tied. Where LSU had their first, LSU could have ran the table and got in, and then they lost. When they lost to you guys, they were out.
Let's see. Yeah, they were number 9 when they lost to us. So let's see, week 9.
Ranking. Yeah, you're in. They went out, they're in.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because all they had to do was beat Mississippi State in the Egg Bowl, and they would have been just like Tennessee. You're 10-2, sitting at home, don't have to play in the SEC unless, like you say, I don't know where they would have fit in if they would have been 10-2, because that would have made them.
They're in over Indiana.
No. What I'm saying is they wouldn't have been in the SEC game because they would have still been 5-2 or 6-2 in the league because they lost to.
But that still would have gave the committee to say, if we look at the resume of SMU versus the resume of Indiana, they're in. But when you have 3 losses, it's hard to put a 3-loss team over an 11-1 Indiana in one of the 2 best conferences. Arguably, if people are going to argue and say SEC, Big Ten are 1-2, regardless of what their schedule is, you're looking at, well, they went 11-1 in their conference.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull it up right now with where Indiana was at that point in time too. Okay, that was the week. That was the week that they lost to Ohio State. So they were 5. They were 5. Ole Miss was 9.
So Ole Miss wins. They move up 2-3 spots, and Indiana's probably out right there.
Yeah, so Indiana's loss dropped them to 10.
Yep.
And Ole Miss dropped to 14
Yeah,
after
they would have
that.
been on. Indiana would have been on the fringe, hoping that someone else lost outside of the conference championship game.
Yeah, because then Ole Miss basically was at 13. Yeah, like I said, I think that would have been your argument if Indiana, a one-loss Indiana versus a two-loss
And I
Ole
think
Miss.
majority of us would have agreed that Ole Miss should have been over Indiana.
Right.
Yeah, you just got to win your games, man. Like,
for
you
sure.
can't.
I agree. I agree.
It just drives me nuts that he's sitting there and it's like, dude, you've been around football and sports your whole life. Your dad was a coach. Like, why are we making this harder than it should be? Like, I get it.
Well, that's where you argue. To me, we just argued a 2-loss versus a 1-loss. That's where you say, okay, do we have a 3-loss versus a 2-loss? Like at that point in time, Indiana only had the 1 loss, so it's like you can't.
The problem is
2 more losses.
What I've been saying all year, we're in an imperfect system with imperfect situations because it's not everybody wants to call it the NFL. The NFL has 32 teams. Half the teams make it. They're in divisions. Division winners are going to make it regardless of how terrible the division winners are, NFC South. But teams are still going to get in. Like last night's game. Should Minnesota be punished to go on the road and Tampa Bay host a home game, even though Minnesota has a better record than Tampa? But that's just what it is, And then in college, that's just where until we figure out some things and tweak the 12-team playoff, it just is what it is, man. Like every year we can sit here and complain because.
By the way, I did go back and listen to our week 1 predictor.
Yeah. Hold on one second. Because you think about it like this, Sponge. If there was a 4-team playoff, Ohio State would be out.
Right. No, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm glad we have the 12 because Ohio State, like you screwed the pooch by basically losing that game to Michigan to where in previous years, you're out. But like you're probably the best team in the country, but you ain't playing no more.
Exactly.
And then instead, the dynamics of if this would have been your top 4 and you would have had a Boise, Arizona State in there, that'd have been bad. Terrible. Because that like even Penn State, wouldn't be in, and they're better than both of those teams.
Yeah. So what about week 1?
Yeah, our playoff prediction final 12. Like we had a couple of bad takes in there for sure. I think
we had Utah.
Well, we both had Utah, but we had 2 Big 12 teams. You remember who your Big 12 champion might have been?
Kansas,
Rock.
I remember. Yep.
But you actually didn't take Ohio State to win it all.
Oh, I believe it.
You took the big bad boogeyman, Kirby Smart, and the Georgia Bulldogs.
Well, I mean, if they had a quarterback.
Yeah, no, like I said, that's the next game. Obviously,
and that's the thing. That's the thing you can't predict. You can't predict injuries.
You can't predict injuries. No, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, jumping into the Notre Dame Georgia game. I thought I didn't think Georgia had a chance. Defense, I take that back. I knew the Georgia defense would have probably came to play, but I'm sitting there looking at their offense.
They did for the most part.
And I'm hearing people saying Kirby's going to get Gunnar Stockton to play, and the Georgia offense hadn't looked good the whole year. And I think Carson has covered up a lot of the issues that they've had, and they led the nation in draw. As much criticism as Carson has got.
That's what I'm saying. How about that throw Gunnar through to Dylan Bell, man? God dang, dog. I'm like,
it don't matter how it doesn't matter if your receivers aren't catching the football.
That's what I'm saying. Like that really became the black eye. Like the way the game went was kind of how I thought it would go, where it was going to be a slow grinder early, and Georgia was doing a good job on defense like we thought they would, and then they were doing enough offensively, like even like you don't blame the whole early touchdown or the early play where the kid got ran in. Like what's crazy about that play too is that kid was barely in the box. That damn referee was running wide as hell.
Yeah.
Anyways, get the penalty, but like the kid was he barely was on the field, like in the white, and like all the coaches and players are kind of like
right there,
right where he was.
Yep.
So like that referee was running more closer to inside the sideline than he was on the field of play. But anyway, whatever. like that play killed him because big play to the 11. Not to say they were going to get in the end zone, but 7 points in this type of game where it was early like that,
Huge.
points were a premium. Instead, they have to kick the field goal. Everything was going according to plan. They held him to the field goal right before the half. You're like, okay, 6-3. Kirby goes aggressive. Not his MO. What does he do? He does back-to-back aggressive games, gets Carson killed in the SEC game. And then this week, he goes aggressive with your backup quarterback, turnover, quick score. Then you get the automatic big, kickoff return. It was like the game was over. It was like literally 2 minutes of gameplay. It was literally 6-3, and then it was like, nope, it's 17-3. Game over.
It was over. It was over after that. It was over after that.
They did have they did have a decent drive where they got on the board. So then you're thinking, okay, can you make this a one-score game?
Yeah.
And Notre Dame's defense held, and then, like I say, it was kind of just hold on after that.
They're probably the most underrated defense in
Notre Dame's
the whole
defense
playoff.
they were playing great. Like, again, if you like, Notre Dame didn't do anything on offense. Like Riley Leonard had
170 total rushing and passing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had like 80, 90 yards passing and about the same rushing. But what's fun is at the end of the day, if you know the other team can't do anything on offense, I'm sure Marcus Freeman's telling Riley, like, hey, once we got this lead, we don't need to do anything else because they can't.
They didn't have to.
I have faith in our defense to stop them because they're with a backup quarterback.
Yeah. Like, I thought Stockton played about as well as you could play in the game.
In that situation.
The other big problem, again, this has been Georgia's problem too. They can't run the ball.
No.
Like, you get ETN in there, you think he's good. Frazier's been good. They rushed it 29 times for 66 yards.
But I think that's more of an indictment of the offensive line. Even though they've been getting 5-star after 5-star after 5-star, that offensive line ain't what it's been.
It's been a major disappointment in opening up run lanes and protection. So then you combo that with what you said earlier, like all those damn drops, and then you don't have that Brock Bowers to go to or the Lad McConkey to make a game breaker play. It's just like, Stockton could have a 20 for 32 night for 230 and touchdown and no picks. But like, if you can't run it, again, credit to Notre Dame.
MO.
Yeah, credit to Notre Dame's defense. Them boys are looking good. So it's one of those things of, the game like completely got thrown. It could have been like a 13-7 type game if you don't get the turnover before the half and the kickoff return. Like, that was
the biggest thing.
14-point swing was huge.
Yeah, the biggest thing for Notre Dame, I think, is Marcus Freeman has changed the narrative with their lines of scrimmage. Whereas Brian Kelly got big guys, but I didn't think they were as physical as what their lines of scrimmage have been. Their lines of scrimmage have been really physical this year. And I think you look at the 4 teams that are left, their lines of scrimmage are physical. Their offensive line and defensive line, Texas, hell of a defensive line. Their offensive line's they're good. Got 2 projected first-round draft picks at the tackle position. You look at Ohio State, their front 4 in defense, physical. We question their offensive line a little bit, but I think that's due to injuries. Penn State, their lines of scrimmage, their front 4 on defense is really, really good. And Notre Dame, the same thing. So if you don't have those lines of scrimmage on both sides, you're not going to end up where these 4 teams are right now.
Yeah, no, for sure. And we've always said it's a line of scrimmage league, and a line of scrimmage. If you want to, if you go back to it, if your D line can get to the quarterback, harass the quarterback, all these teams play good run D. Like, so again, like these teams probably were the 4 best teams. Like, we got down to where like a healthy Georgia might have, or Carson Beck might have been it. Maybe Georgia,
maybe not. We'll never know.
So again, you look at the other teams like we just talked about. Arizona State, Boise, SMU, Indiana.
Even if they would have won their first game.
What I'm saying is those teams were good. They were good this year. But we're talking about the lines of scrimmage, like, being dominant. Like, those teams don't have that for sure.
And then you lose a guy because Notre Dame's their two top defensive tackles are probably out for the rest of the playoffs.
Yeah, well,
But
Riley Mills is out. Riley Mills is
yeah.
out for the season.
So if you have those monsters to come in and replace those guys, and there's no drop, there's not a huge drop off. Yeah, you're going to win. I think even Lanning noticed that even after Mario left Oregon, and
Yeah.
Lanning's getting those SEC big bodies, especially on the lines of scrimmage. It's like it's cool to have big guys that are quick, but I don't think Oregon previously to win a national championship have those big physical guys that you need to win it all. And he's trying his best to flip that. All these teams could get skill guys, except Penn State clearly, but everybody else could get skill guys. But if you can't control the line of scrimmage, you're not going to win a national championship.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And
so
like I say, the last 2 weeks, I think Ohio. If I had to go through a physicality meter, Ohio State's 1. I think Notre Dame was 2, Penn State, and then Texas. Even though I like Texas's defense and Colin Simmons coming off that edge.
Yeah, no, like I say, that's the crazy part about it is I would probably go with that number 2, but then you could easily be like, well, I'd say Notre Dame's 1, and then Ohio State's 2, and then you know, they're that good, and so that's where
I'm just going off the first 2 games. Of
no,
what I've seen.
Oh, totally. I totally agree. Like I say, then without further ado, let's hop into the other thing is, how do you feel? Like, I was trying to gauge because we knew this was coming. I don't mind the first round games. You know, the way I like the way they did it. How you had the Friday night game and then all 3 on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
The next week, obviously, they always do the traditional big bowl games on New Year's Day. So the day of the week always is wonky. So it could be a Tuesday, Wednesday. So now you get down to the Final Four. You know, we always talk about college football's played on Saturday. Well, obviously you got the NFL playoffs this weekend. So they're doing the Thursday night solo game, Friday night solo game. We've talked about how the NFL should really, in my opinion, they should do the Friday night solo game, and then you have your 2 NFL games. Let's make it a triple header and then like sandwich that college game in the middle. You know what I'm saying? I think that would be pretty cool.
I think they won't do that.
Your early. I don't think they are either. But
no, the reason why I think they won't do it is because I don't think either league wants a 1 p.m. game. They want to push it towards prime time later in the afternoon.
Yeah,
so that's where you kind of,
No, I get that. I get that, but I guess part of it is, again, this is going back to like, you know, this is the minor league. This ain't the XFL. This is like the minor leagues to your league for the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, how can you incorporate, like, the other thing too is the networks are different because you got, you know, there's no CBS, there's no NBC, there's no Fox. It's literally just ESPN. And I don't even know how many ESPN games are even on the slate for the NFL this weekend. I don't even know which game is I'm about to look it up now, which I don't know. Like I don't know the opening night. Is it, huh?
Saturday's 4 and 8.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. So
yeah,
my thing is,
I think when they get to the next round, they'll do like 1 and 4 or something like that.
Yeah, well, they always do the when they get to the AFC and NFC round, there's always a 1 o'clock game.
Yeah,
there's a Sunday 1 o'clock game. You know, so it's like
Sunday's always going to have a 1 until they get to the conference championships, and then they push them back just a little bit.
Right. So yeah, like the 4:15 game or whatever.
Yeah.
I guess so. The opening game is it's a CBS game. So here's the thing: your 2 Saturday games aren't even on a network. It's CBS and Prime. So like you can't get that rollover effect, is what I'm saying. If like, you know, because the game's going to be on ABC. I think the Notre Dame game.
Yeah.
But again, that's where it's like, okay, how can you get this to work? The problem is the networks aren't all in a line. So then on Sunday you have your triple header. You've got your 1 o'clock CBS game, which is Denver Buffalo. Then you got your 4:30 game Fox again. So, and then you got NBC. So again, even if you did a Sunday,
they won't do
none
Sunday.
of those.
College won't do Sunday.
Exactly. So the only game that's on ESPN this weekend is the Monday night game. So
your lines?
No, the Minnesota, LA.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, your Lions have a bye week.
At the bye week, baby. So, anyways, but again, so now instead of getting back to what I'm saying is you have your 2 standalone Thursday night, Friday night games. So it's kind of weird I don't hate
No,
it.
no,
I don't
no.
love it.
Yeah,
I don't
no.
hate it. I don't love it.
I think if it was still last week, if it was still in that holiday window, they probably would have done both on. They could do both on a Friday, like what you're thinking, like have a 3 o'clock, 7 o'clock. But I think
Right.
once since we're back in the regular week schedule per se, holidays are over. They don't want to take that chance and put that
Yeah,
game
no, and I think it's
earlier.
I think it's good. I think it's good they're gonna do, like I say, standalones. You get your primetime game.
Yeah,
So Thursday night, this Thursday night, you got Notre Dame versus Penn State. I don't even what bowl are they in? Are they in the Cotton Bowl? Maybe I don't even
orange.
know.
They're in the Orange Bowl.
Oh yeah, the Orange Bowl. So here we go. We just talked about it. Two physical defenses. Two defenses are playing a really good ball. Two good fronts. Two teams that really like to run the ball.
This is a
So
tough one, man.
what does it come down to? Can
Who
Riley
can?
Leonard make big throws? Can
I was
Riley
about to
Leonard
say
extend those? Can
which
Riley? And then on the
which
flip side, does
quarterback.
Drew out? Yeah.
Yep.
Well, you
Sorry,
got your
sorry
money
to
on.
cut you
I know
off.
you don't like Drew. I know you don't like
Yeah.
Drew. So I think you're going
Which
Riley.
quarterback can make enough plays is going to win this game. And they're all skill guys too. Which skill guys are going to step up and help their quarterbacks make enough plays? Man, this is a tough one right now. If I had to choose today, I'm probably leaning Notre Dame. I'm leaning Notre Dame, but I wouldn't be surprised if Penn State won. Like as much as I bag on Drew Aller, I think he can make enough plays, and he has Katron Allen and Singleton. Which one of those wide receivers are going to step up and take the attention off of Tyler Warren? Because you got to expect Notre Dame's probably going to try to double team and bracket Tyler Warren, but
Yeah.
Penn State does a great job of putting him in so many situations to where he'll line up in the backfield and motion out, or he's on the line, he's off the line. They do a great job of putting them in different situations, orbit motions, stuff like that. Will he have to have a big game? I think Tyler Warren is going to have a big game. When I say big game for him, that's probably going to be like 7 catches, 80 to 90 yards, and maybe a tutty. But those backs got to step up too, man. As much as we hype those running backs up, they haven't really done anything in their careers at Penn State, like with significance.
2,000 yard backs this year.
Like I said,
Splitting carries.
but what I'm saying, Sponge, in games that matter, name a game that mattered where you're like one of these two guys have stepped up.
Well, we've already talked. None, because we've already talked about James Franklin hasn't won a big game ever. So
So
it
my point exactly.
So it's not
Who's
James'
gonna
fault. It's
step
his
up?
players. It's his players
Yeah,
aren't good.
and that's why I'm leaning towards Notre Dame. I
Yeah.
think Notre Dame. I think Riley, being a veteran, he's going to put them in the right plays. They're going to run the football. They're going to be physical. But even on their side, what tight end, what wide receiver is going to step up?
Well, my big issue is Jeremiah Love.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah,
If he I watched the clip of him. I guess he's got a big old knee brace in practice right now. He was insignificant at all against Georgia. I mean, obviously they didn't need him because Riley Leonard had the 80 yards on the ground. He kept picking up those 4-yard runs to extend drives. I think it's gonna be a little bit different this week. You're gonna need Love, but I don't know if he's gonna be able to go. So that's a scary prop for me to basically be like, okay, it's all on Riley Leonard, so he's gonna have to definitely make throws in this game. So I'm a lean Penn State just because I do think Drew Aller is going to make enough plays, and I think that Katron Allen and Nick Singleton can be the difference in being able to get some generation. That's what I'm saying. So if you have those guys doing what they've done against Oregon in the Big Ten game, and then the SMU game and the Boise game. That's the other thing too. They've kind of got a little bit. They've been playing each week, so they're kind of on a little hot streak.
Yeah, they're in a rhythm. Well, that was my thing about Arizona State.
I say Notre Dame too. Notre Dame too dominated, Indiana, and then they got 2 games. So
yeah. Well, that was my thing going into the Arizona State Texas game, because Arizona State's just been so hot the last couple of weeks, and they got into a rhythm.
They got cooled off a little bit.
Hell, I get it. The 4 teams that got the buys probably shouldn't have been the 4 teams that got the buys, but they all lost.
Yeah. No, like I say, I'm going back to the Boise. I want to see what I think they both Katron. Like I say, the big thing is, can you get obviously you're going to get Tyler Warren's going to get production. He's going to do something. can you get Omari Evans or Harrison Wallace to do something in the
That's the
passing
thing.
game?
Can you utilize those
Yeah,
mismatches?
Boise, Katron went for 134 and Nick Singleton went for 87. They rushed for 216. It's like if they get that kind of they're not going to get that kind of production, but
Yeah.
if they're able to run the ball, like I say, I don't know. I like Penn State's defense right now, but we talked about I like both of their defense. I think this is a hell of a matchup. The big thing, the equalizer is if Love is a no-go, that's gonna be tough.
If the Penn State offensive coordinator could be creative and take advantage of Notre Dame doubling Tyler Warren and bracketing Tyler Warren and get those other guys off. Like if we have him line up in the backfield and he goes to the right, motions to the right, and they shift their whole defense, can you get that backside? Can you get and have both of those backs? And I think I give them credit. They've been better of having both of the backs on the field at the same time, a lot more than they have in the past.
Yeah, no, like I say, I agree. I think it's going to be a hell of a game. Looking forward to it Thursday night.
Same.
Like I say, I'll roll Penn State. I'll take the 2.5. And I think, like I say, I think that sets up for a all Big Ten national title because I think we're both going to pick Ohio State to beat Texas on Friday. We said it before. Ohio State's been the most dominating team since, after getting beat by Michigan in these first two games, blowing out Tennessee, blowing out Oregon, two quality teams. Texas, they have the capabilities, like we said, but you just don't see it. I just don't see them turning it on and just playing their most complete game against somebody right now who's basically clicking on all cylinders. Now, can we have that all of a sudden aha moment where Ohio State just goes into a shell and plays like they did against Michigan? I just don't think they're going to play that way because I don't think the style they're playing right now is that. But, can they have a moment where Will Howard, doesn't, throws a bad ball, throws an interception, fumbles or something, turns it over, and then, you get a great game by Ewers and, sure, that could happen, but I'm not leaning towards that at all. So I think, in all honesty, I think Texas gets blown out. I think it's a 2-score game. Somewhere in the neighborhood of like 35-24, something like that. 35-21.
I could see that.
Somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah, no, I'm leaning against Ohio State. I'm leaning with Ohio State as well. If they come out and they keep up the same intensity they've had the first 2 weeks, because like I said, we know Texas's offense is going to go 3-4 drives where they just don't do anything. And if you're Ohio State, can you capitalize off of it? Can you still hit the edges with your run game? Can you still get Jeremiah Smith involved, Carnell Tate involved, G. Scott, Emeka? And I think that's where it's going to stress the Texas defense. Who are you going to focus on? Because you just can't focus on one guy. I mean, you can't focus on Jeremiah Smith is the guy right now, but if you double him up, you leave Emeka one-on-one, he could kill you. And then Carnell Tate's just as good. I think it depends on how that Ohio State offensive line, can they still be consistent and open those holes and give those backs? Like, it's shown if both backs can get between 60 and 70 yards apiece when it matters in a tutty. I mean, and we know the defense is going to show up. I don't have to worry about the Ohio State defense. Who's going to cover Jeremiah Smith? Is the Thorpe Award winner going to cover him?
That's who you would think, but I mean, I don't know if that guy can cover him either.
I don't know if I can't remember if the Texas DBs travel and whatnot.
I don't know what they do with man-to-man.
It's going to be one of those games where Colin Simmons and that D line is going to have to come in wreck shop, and I just don't see it. And I'm with you. I can see Ohio State winning by 10 plus.
Yeah, no, like I said, I feel like Texas, they've been too inconsistent of late.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have confidence in them being able to run the ball, so it's all on Ewers' arm. We know he can do it, but he's also good for an interception or two. So that's gonna. And then, again, looking back at that drive chart against Arizona State, they not only, came up empty on drives, but there was multiple drives, I think 2 or 3, where they literally went 3 and out. 3 and outs are really a killer because
you can't have
it's
that
like you don't even generate anything to at least give your defense a chance to rest
or
at least
the field.
I was about to say field position, by getting a couple first downs. None of that. So it's literally 3 plays and punt, like multiple times. Again, that just doesn't set up well for your offense. At least, like literally Texas's offense is boom or bust. It's literally they're going to go 2 plays, 77 yards touchdown, 8 plays, 85 yards, touchdown, or they're going to go 3 and out. And it's like, what the hell? You can't. You gotta meet me in the middle here somewhere. So
I think that's just a lot of offenses today, and it's like take the easy throw, man. Sometimes you just got to take the easy throw. Like I get it. It's second and one, and you feel like you got to take a shot play, but the tight end's wide open right in front of you. Just check it down, get the first down, and then take a shot play on first down. Especially depending on how the flow of the game's going. If you're going 3 and out, and then you get 2 good plays, and then you're taking a shot play, it drives me nuts because I'm sitting there like, how about you just get the first down, extend the drive, and continue it on? But that's just the new age offenses. They just feel like it's kind of like basketball. If we put enough more threes than you, we're going to score more. And I feel like the offenses today, if we get more explosive plays than the other team, we're going to score more. Which, but you got to hit those explosive plays.
No, for sure. Like I say, I went back and looked at the Indiana game. I know defense set them up on some short fields, but that day Will Howard only threw for 200 and they only rushed for 115 in the game. So it's like, I know they had short fields. I'm not going to look at like where they starting field position wise, but that was a game where they didn't light it up. The Nebraska game. Let's go back to that one. I'm just saying, like, can they have these type of games? 221 passing for Will Howard, and they only rushed it for 64 yards. It's like what's going on in that? Like
I said, that was a stretch where the offensive line has just been banged up, and they just haven't created holes for Judkins and Henderson.
They played Nebraska right after the Oregon game. Then they had the Penn State game, then Purdue and Northwestern. Those games don't count. Like, dude, those are bad teams. And then the Michigan game, they just like I can't. It's just unfat. Like 19 of 33 for 175, and Will Howard threw 2 picks in that game. Does that Will Howard enter the chat? I don't know. Like this Texas's defense cost them havoc to where Will Howard, has a turnover too. Sure, that can happen, but the way they played these first 2 weeks, you say no. And I guess that was what I was even saying to Joe, and I guess that was his, his question about going into that game last week. With the consistency of any team, like all year,
That's
like where has it been?
Team.
So it's like we haven't seen this version of Ohio State, back to back to back weeks.
Right.
So they didn't do it. So now can you do it 3 times? Can you do it 4 times? Like,
but then
to do that, you're going to win the national title.
But then who makes the adjustments? Just say if the Texas D line's getting off on the Ohio State offensive line, does Chip Kelly say, hey, we're going to leave a back end to Chip. We're going to leave G. Scott in more at tight end to help block. Do we still create more lanes? Do we still run the football when we need it? Are we still, I won't say we need to, are we still able to run the football, even though that Texas defensive line is getting pressure on a Will Howard? And can Will Howard, we haven't really seen him run. We know he could run. So do we see more QB read and he pulls and he runs a little bit more? He doesn't have to get 70. He could make a run for 5-6 yards and pick up a first down when it matters. Yeah. So the chess match for both games is going to be intriguing to me and what the coaches do.
Yeah, no, like I said, I think we're in for 2 pretty good ball games.
Yeah.
Obviously the line says this one's a touchdown, so Ohio State, and that's where I'd put it too, just because of what they've looked like the first 2 weeks. So, like I say, we're looking at a potential. The way we're picking, we're looking at a rematch from a couple, late game of Penn State and Notre Dame, or Penn State and Ohio State. Notre Dame. I mean, like I say, I guess here's the thing: we'll find out with Notre Dame and Penn State. Like they get to play it on the field, and
I think right now looking at it, I think the winner of Texas Ohio State is going to win the national championship.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. If Texas somehow gets out of beating Ohio State, I think they're the second best thing, the best team in it, and they had the highest odds going in before last week, or when it opened. But obviously that was before we saw what Ohio State was putting on the field, and we knew the capability of that. So, yeah, like I say, going back, what's funny is I wanted to go back and listen to the whole thing because I want to say when we were talking, you were praising Ohio State when we were doing our picks, and I was like, yeah, I'm going with Ohio State to win the national championship just because all those things you said, and then I went on with. Then I was like, okay, who they playing? I think we both had them playing Georgia in the national title. And you were like, well, I'm going with Georgia. And I was like, I think I literally said, well, you just went against everything you just said. You're like, I'm going Kirby, man. Kirby, baby.
It's hard to bet.
Kirby.
It's hard to bet
Kirby.
against Kirby.
like what's funny is like now is all of a sudden, Kirby's going through a little transition here. This back-to-back years. You didn't make it into the Final Four. You made the playoff, obviously, because you didn't win your game.
Got to figure out this quarterback position
I was
too.
about to say Carson Beck's gone.
Does he reevaluate? How does he have to reevaluate everything they've done the last 2 years?
Is Gunnar Stockton your guy going into 2025?
I mean, and you lost Rashada. Not saying Rashada's done anything, but your QB depth, your QB room is taking a hit.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like I say, you're losing. You get Zachariah Branch. He's an elite playmaker. Mm-hmm. But again, that's just one guy.
You keep ETN. Now you have Frazier, but you still need. I think the depth of Kirby's team is being questioned in the NIL era and the transfer portal era.
We knew that was, and that's what we knew was going to take a hit for a lot of these teams because. Yes, you're loading up on recruits. You're getting 25 studs,
But how many, like Deion said, how many of those guys are really going to play year one?
Exactly. So what happens is you got to wait your turn, and these guys don't want to wait their turn, so they transfer. Nope. So then the question is, you don't even know what kind of guy you're getting. Like we'll use Florida State getting who was it? Who they get from Georgia? The D end, not Little. He's a legacy guy. Why am I? His name
Jones, Marvin Jones.
Yeah. Yes. Like you don't know what you're getting because he hadn't played yet. So, like you say, it's kind of a crapshoot with some of these portal guys because you're like,
he's going to Oklahoma.
No, I didn't even know that. So he's in Florida State to go to OU.
So to OU. Yep.
There you go. So again, at least a lot of the portal guys you really want are the guys who actually put something on tape. Like by LSU saying, okay, we're going to get Peyton and we're going to get Pyburn. We know that these guys have put something on tape, not versus a backup who was a 4-star, 5-star, but we hadn't seen him play yet, but he was recruited by Bama. I don't know if this guy's good or not. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You're rolling the dice, but at the same time, you're probably in a good situation to where you're not Miami. You had to go out and get DBs. There was no ands or buts about it. Now they've gotten some DBs that have playing time, but even if they didn't get some of those guys, they had to go out and get DBs. So that's where the portal kind of helps you. But like you say, you want guys with game experience. And I'm curious to see what Kirby does in the offseason and how many guys actually leave Georgia when their window opens to leave.
Well, their window's open, so nobody's really hit it. And they only got 5 days.
Well, the next window.
Well, it's 5 days after
this window. Yeah, this window.
It's 5 days after
your last game.
Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever that game was. I mean,
they haven't had. But every team, man, every team's going to get hit.
What's crazy is there's going to be a transition of power even in the SEC with a lot of these quarterbacks leaving, like a Jackson Dart leaving Ole Miss, like Milroe finally being done with Bama. Carson's gone. So it's like the veteran is Nussmeier. He's coming back. So, and then you got everybody loving like even Tennessee. What is Nico? Nico's obviously going to be there, but like. It's your turn. Like you're a junior now, Nico.
But you also can't lose 9 of 11 receivers and expect to be great.
No, like I say, there's a lot of transition for some of these teams that have been like a Tennessee. So Tennessee goes from making the playoff to having high expectations this season to now you're still questioning, is Nico the guy? And now you just lost your top 9 receivers, So it's like, where are you looking at Tennessee for next season, So it's like I say, there's going to be this whole era of the new age football is going to be like very interesting to be like, okay, well, moving and shaking here, you got this guy, that guy, but there's a lot of guys who've kind of been playing a lot of football in the SEC at the quarterback position that are basically going to be gone.
Even you think about it, I won't say no one's thinking, but teams that may need a quarterback. If Quinn Ewers decides not to go to the NFL, he could. What if he ended up at Georgia? What if he ended up at Notre Dame?
No, for sure. Yeah,
and that you still got to think about the guys like that. Even the second window after the spring practice, where Maivia from USC decides, you know what, I'm out of here because Deuce Robinson left and Zachariah Branch left, and he had, has still a couple guys, but he still may just say, you know what, I'm out.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like I say, it's that whole that's where Florida found a couple of receivers in that spring. Badger and they found the
DK.
previous year. No, but he was in the early window. I'm talking about that second spring
Oh,
window
yeah.
because DK did spring where Badger came over in the
Yeah, I
summer.
mean, even Keon
But yeah,
Coleman did
no,
that, came after his
yeah,
spring,
yeah,
but
no, it's
you got to hit on those spring those this after that spring window, those are guys you got to hit on because they
yeah,
have a shorter period of time to, get acclimated and come in playing.
yeah. Like I said, I don't. We don't have to dive into any of the bowl games. I mean, like I say, Bama sucks. Ole Miss blew out Duke. Like I say, a lot of these matchups were not great.
Well, then
Um,
you just
we
factor
don't have to,
in.
we don't have to dive into the Cam Ward situation. We can leave that one alone.
Yeah, let's leave that one alone.
but,
So stupid.
but yeah, bowl. Here's the crazy part.
But
Out of all the bowl games, I really haven't watched any of them. Really, I watched
I peaked. I
I've
peaked
watched
into some of them.
CFP only all the way.
Yeah,
Yes, I have. Obviously, if I'm home and a game's on, I'll turn it on, but I'm not
yeah.
like glued. I'm not glued to it. Like I watched that the South Carolina Illinois game a little bit.
Mhm.
I watched a little bit of the game the other night because it was just on the Ole Miss game.
It's just college football is in a different period of time. People really didn't watch. I think a lot of people lied. They weren't watching the bowl games before transfer portal. Now
I
they're
was,
just
dude.
using.
I never. I'm telling you, it's been about the last 4 or 5 years. I think with all the opt outs and sit outs,
Yeah,
I've kind of like because you just don't know who's playing.
yeah. You
You're only
don't
going to
know who's
watch.
playing.
You're going to watch your team play if they're in a bowl game,
Hmm.
and that's about it. And then if it's on, it's on. But again, back in the day, I feel like bowl games, the big ones were like must see TV. I want to watch this matchup because it's different.
Yeah,
But it's
you watch the
yeah,
Cotton Bowl, the Rose Bowl, the Orange
yeah.
Bowl.
It's just
Now it's
completely
just
changed. Yeah.
yeah, and it's just people are doing what they think is best for their situation, and you
Yeah,
can't blame them
I
for
won't
doing
even
what's
throw out.
best for their
I won't
situation.
throw out because I don't want. We don't have to debate. I won't throw out my if I'm the commissioner of college football what I would do with bowl games and see what
What
everybody
would you
says.
do?
But, well,
Oh, I
remember,
already know. Never
yeah,
mind. I
yeah,
already
that's
know.
what
Yeah,
I'm saying.
yeah,
Yeah, it's where Gator Dave actually brought it up. It's like I'll just throw it out there. We don't have to debate about it, but it would be like, you know, screw the bowl game. You set that bowl game up to be your preseason week 1 game, but the game actually counts on your record versus yes, it
yeah.
counts on your record, but it's a meaningless bowl game that nobody cares that
I
Illinois
mean,
beat
I
South
think.
Carolina.
Well, I told you how I thought about it when we talked the other day. I think the bowl season is more for our younger guys to get on the field. You get more practices, even though the practices are fun and you're getting guys more acclimated. The guys that didn't play all year, the how do they react in the lights, especially now with the transfer portal? You get to see why Emory, hey, this guy may not be it. We may need to go get another quarterback. And
Right.
that's where a lot of you look at it for so many levels of who do we need to replace? A guy's like, well, I had a good season. Let me finish the bowl game. I'm gonna hit the portal. So it's everyone's gonna have their own opinions on it. Everyone's opinions may be good, their opinions may stink. I just like it. If I'm a coach, as a fan, I don't care. But as a coach, I like the bowl preparation in the bowl game because I get to see other guys play per se. And where are we going with our future, which almost doesn't even matter, to be honest with you, with the transfer portal. But that's just my opinion on it, partial opinion.
Yeah. No, like I say, bowl they've turned into meaningless games if you're not in the
Hmm.
playoff, which we know. So it's just basically a
Yeah,
glorified practice and
yeah.
reps against another team's jersey. And win, lose, or draw, you like springboard or down
Hmm.
year, whatever. But again, the main goal is get in those playoffs or even get into some of those
Ultimately,
juicier bowl games. Even the Cheez-It Bowl with Illinois and South Carolina turned out to be a good game because they didn't have any opt-outs. Both teams were really in it. Like that's when it's fun,
yeah,
games because it's
yeah,
like there's stuff on the line. You kind of feel the intensity. The coaches cared, all that stuff. So when you get that combo, that's what makes for a good bowl game. And
yeah.
again, the other 20 games, you got Buffalo playing North Texas, and it's like I don't give a crap about watching
Yeah,
this. So,
that was background. That was background at work.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
I'm just looking at some Twitter, and apparently Eric Armstead said after this year he's going to move back inside. You should have been inside all season, dummy. Oh man, these freaking players. I'm going to move back inside, play D tackle, so Trayvon and Hines Allen can play outside. But I want to play defensive end because that's what I came here to do. Yeah.
Let's not get on that topic. We'll talk NFL another day because what's not happening in the city of Jacksonville today?
I love Trent Baalke. Trent Baalke.
Good Lord. How do you?
You know what? The presser is actually going on right now. It started at 2 p.m. So
this shows you that billionaires are just as dumb as regular people.
Wow. Here's a great. This is a great tweet right here. There have been 10 NFL head coaches fired during or after their first season with a team in the last decade. Trent Baalke hired 3 of those 10 coaches. Jim Tomsula, I don't know who Kelly is. Who's Kelly? And Urban Meyer.
Trent
Baalke is
Chip Kelly. You hired him in San Francisco.
Okay, yeah, that's right. I was like, "Who's Kelly?" I don't remember Chip going out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, basically, Trent Baalke is set to make his 6th head coaching hire with the owner as a general manager.
God,
you got 6 opportunities to hire coaches. Like, God damn,
Shad Shad is the worst owner, and
dude. I'm telling you,
right now, man.
The rumor is like Baalke's got some dirt on Shad, man. He's like, I'm gonna put this guy in prison. Like,
I take that back. He's pretty bad. Woody Johnson's pretty bad.
Yeah,
Mara, or however you say it for the Giants, is pretty bad. Whew, let's not even start about that guy in Carolina. At least he stepped back and let Dave Canales do his thing.
Yeah.
But how do you not?
That was a sweet no look Steph Curry touchdown pass from Bryce.
That was nice. But it's like I just don't understand how you just don't blow it up and just say, we gotta go, regardless of how I feel about you, I gotta go in another direction, because you know how many people are probably not re-upping their tickets, and they probably waited to see what was going to happen in the offseason before they re-up their tickets.
Yeah.
You're telling me you want Ben Johnson. What if Ben Johnson comes and does the interview and just be like, I like Trevor, I like the city, I like everything but that guy.
Yeah.
Is he going to fire him? Probably
that's where we talked about before we even got on, is like, does Ben Johnson have enough weight to be like, where Shad would be like, you know what, I really want this guy?
Yes, Ben Johnson has enough weight, because Ben Johnson doesn't have to come to Jacksonville.
I agree. So that's where it's like,
he will end up in Chicago or somewhere.
Trust. That's what I'm saying. It's either Jacksonville or Chicago, but does he put that weight around to be like, hey, I'm not coming here unless you fire Trent? And
I think Ben Johnson's fine, because Ben Johnson could just say, you know what, I don't want any of these jobs because all of you are idiots. I'll stay in Detroit one more year.
Yeah, no, he could totally do that too. Yeah. Win a Super Bowl and be like, I'll run it back. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, if you're Brian Flores, do you want to come work for Trent Baalke?
Yeah. Like I said, I think they're going to go offensive guy.
If you're Bobby Slowick, do you want to leave Houston and CJ Stroud to come to this mess?
Is Joe Brady ready to be a head coach? What do you think?
He's almost, I think so. But if you're Joe Brady, do you want to come in where a guy refuses to upgrade the offensive line and their motto is, we're going to run it back?
Yeah.
No, while you're watching your quarterback get killed every game.
Trust.
All right, man.
All right, dog. Well, like I say, we got 2 games left till we get to the national championship. These look like 2 good matchups. Enjoy some football.
Maybe we'll talk some NFL next week, since we only have 1 game to talk about.
Yeah,
3 games to talk about.
We could throw in some NFL playoffs after this week. All right, just real quick, then let's do that. Let's just pick your winners. I'll throw out the schedule and you say who you got, and I'll say who I got. All right. Game 1, Saturday. The Los Angeles Chargers and the Fighting Jim Harbaughs versus the Houston Texans.
I think I'm leaning Chargers right now. CJ hasn't looked that good.
I'm going Chargers, man. I'm going
Chargers as well.
The line is the Chargers are favored by 2.5 on the road, so they're a road favorite. I think CJ Stroud has looked rough lately. Obviously they played Tennessee yesterday. The Titans are god awful.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the Chargers defense. I think Herbert. I think they run the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Like
They're
I think
physical.
Chargers win. I think Chargers win. I think we'll both be on the same on this one. Pittsburgh, Baltimore,
Baltimore.
Ravens, man. Got to go Lamar, L Boogie. There.
Only thing I question is
I
the
don't like
offensive
that
play
line.
calling.
Yeah, I don't like that line. The line's like
Is the
10.
offensive play calling going to be to the strengths of what the Ravens do, and not like the last couple years they just start doing dumb shit?
Yeah, no, I think they'll. I think they'll be able to handle Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
I think we'll both be on the same on this one. I think we'll both take Buffalo against Denver.
yep.
And then
I'm impressed. I'm impressed by Bo Nix. Not gonna lie.
Bo Nix. Go look at the last 8 games of Bo Nix.
No, I'm impressed by Bo Nix.
It's pretty damn. He's got some good numbers.
Yeah.
Now these next 3 games, I think, are all toss ups, and I'm curious to know who you got. Now let's see. Green Bay at Philly.
I like
going
Philly. Yeah, I'm going Philly.
I'm going Green Bay. I'm going Green Bay.
Christian Watson may have tore his ACL, and you don't know about the hand injury with Jordan Love.
I think Jordan Love plays.
Oh, he's going to play.
But what's up with Jalen Hurts? Like, he's still in concussion protocol. Like, is he coming back?
He didn't need to play. He didn't need to play this past week.
I know he hadn't played the last 3 weeks, but
yeah, they had their seed wrapped up. I don't think it matters.
I don't know. I don't know why I'm still questioning Philly. I don't know. They played good ball down the stretch. Saquon's been a beast. Like, yeah, they had the little spat allegedly with AJ Brown and Jalen. But
I take Philly.
I'm going to take the points, man. I'm taking Green Bay in the points.
Okay. I thought we were just picking winners. I didn't realize we were picking points.
No, I'm just saying I'm taking Green Bay.
Gotcha.
I'll take those 4.5 points too. So,
gotcha.
But Washington at Tampa Bay. You going with the rookie or you going with Baker?
I think, man, I like what Jalen.
I like this game. This is a good game.
This is a good game. I think the moment may be a little too big. Playoffs, the intensity. I'll go with Tampa just because of the experience.
Yeah, I'm going with Baker too at home. It's a night game. It's the Sunday night game. I think. Yeah, they're banged up. Like you just said, playoffs are different. Yep. Not to say Jaden Daniels isn't playing at a high level.
Yeah, exactly.
He is, but for some reason, I just like Tampa in this game. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But I can see Washington winning too.
Yeah, for sure.
And then the Monday night game, the Minnesota Vikings at the Los Angeles Rams.
I'm going to go Vikings. I think they just played a really good Detroit team last night. I like everything Sam Darnold's been doing this year. It's hard to keep JJ and that offense down.
Sam Darnold finally did show up though last night. He showed up last night.
Yeah, I think he played against one of the best teams in the NFL. I mean, right now, Detroit probably has to be the favorite to be in the Super Bowl coming out of the NFC.
Yeah.
So even with all the injuries, I like Minnesota to win that
game. They played good D last night.
And
that's where they're majorly banged up. They did get Anzalone. They got the Thor from Florida back on the field. He played pretty good D last night, but
yeah, he did.
Yeah, I think I got Minnesota too. So basically, we got all the same teams except I went with the Green Bay Packers, your favorite team that you guys beat up on yesterday.
Finally.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens next week in the NFL playoffs. So
we'll talk about it. All right, man.
Look like a Big Ten championship, Ohio State. And
that's what it looks like.
You got Notre Dame. I got Penn State. So.
Yeah, it's still a Big Ten team.
But, right? That's what I was thinking anyways. So it is what it is.
All right,
anyway,
man.
Holler at your people.
Holler at y'all. Like, subscribe, share.
We'll see y'all next week.
Later.
Peace.